The night was thick with smoke, the orange glow of flames painting the sky as neighbors screamed for help. Fire trucks hadn't arrived yet, and the old wooden house on Maple Street was already engulfed. Amid the chaos, a golden retriever named Max barked wildly, pulling against his leash with desperate strength. His owner, Sarah, tried to hold him back, tears streaming down her face. "No, Max, you can't go in there," she cried. "In there," she cried. But Max's instincts were stronger than fear. Something or someone was still inside. Before anyone could stop him, Max yanked free and bolted straight into the inferno. The crowd gasped. Flames licked the doorway. Smoke poured out like a monster's breath, and the sound of the roof cracking echoed through the night. Everyone stood frozen, unable to move, helpless to intervene. Sarah fell to her knees, sobbing, whispering prayers that her best friend would come back alive. Minutes passed like hours, the house groaning under the heat, until suddenly a faint bark echoed from within. Inside, Max's world was nothing but heat and smoke. The floorboards were burning beneath his paws, the air thick with suffocating fumes. But his senses were locked on one thing, a faint cry, soft and scared. He followed it through the haze, navigating fallen beams and shattered glass. In the corner of a bedroom, under a toppled crib, lay a small bundle, Sarah's baby, Emma. The smell of burning plastic was suffocating, but Max pushed forward, teeth gripping the blanket gently as he began to drag the child toward the door. Outside, firefighters finally arrived, shouting commands and unrolling hoses. One of them tried to run in, but the roof was too unstable. "It's too late," someone shouted, but just then, through the black smoke, a shape appeared in the doorway. Max stumbled out, fur singed, eyes red, dragging something behind him. The crowd screamed, then fell silent as they saw what it was. A baby, wrapped in a scorched pink blanket, still breathing. The firefighter dropped to his knees, grabbing the infant, and shouted, "She's alive!" Sarah ran forward, choking on tears, collapsing beside Max. Her hands trembled as she took her baby from the firefighter's arms. Emma coughed weakly, crying out, a sound so pure it made everyone cry with relief. Max lay beside them, chest heaving, fur burned, tail barely moving. Sarah cradled his head, whispering, "You saved her. Max, you saved my baby." The dog's eyes blinked slowly, tired but full of love, as if saying, "That's all that matters." As paramedics rushed to help, Max was lifted onto a stretcher beside Emma. The two were taken together to the emergency van, the crowd parting like the sea. Some people clapped, others cried openly, unable to believe what they had witnessed. In that moment, Max wasn't just a dog. He was a hero. But no one knew if he'd survive the night. His lungs had inhaled too much smoke, his paws were badly burned, and his heartbeat was weak. At the hospital, Sarah refused to leave his side. Doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize both Emma and Max. The baby recovered quickly, but Max's condition was critical. His breathing was shallow, and every exhale sounded like a struggle. Sarah sat beside his cage, holding his paw gently. "Please, don't leave me," she whispered. You've always been my protector. I can't lose you two." Her tears fell onto his golden fur, but Max didn't move. Hours passed in silence. Then, just before dawn, Max's paw twitched. His ears moved slightly at the sound of Sarah's voice. When she saw it, she gasped, calling the vet. He's responding. "Oh," she cried. The vet smiled faintly, saying, "He's fighting. He's a strong one." Slowly, Max opened his eyes, weak but alive. The entire staff clapped softly. Sarah buried her face into his neck, sobbing in gratitude. "You did it, boy. You came back." News spread quickly. Within hours, Max's story was on every local channel. Headlines called him the miracle dog and a hero of Maple Street. People across the city donated for his treatment, sending cards, toys, and letters of love. Children drew pictures of Max with angel wings. Strangers came to the hospital hoping just to see him. But for Sarah, it wasn't about fame. It was about the love of a creature who had risked everything for family. Days later, Max finally stood again. His fur was patchy, his gait slow, but his tail wagged when he saw Emma. Emma? Sarah lifted the baby, holding her close to Max's face. Emma giggled and reached for his ear, tugging softly. The room filled with warmth. Sarah smiled through tears. Guardian angel, she whispered, and from that day forward, Max never left her side again, sleeping beside Emma's crib every night, watching her grow, always ready to protect. Weeks passed, and Max's story became something larger than anyone could imagine. News crews came from far and wide, filming the quiet golden retriever who had risked his life to save a baby. Sarah's small town turned into a place of pilgrimage for animal lovers, firefighters, and families who wanted to say thank you. Yet Max didn't understand the fame. All he wanted was to be near Emma, his little human, whose laugh had become his favorite sound in the world. Sarah was invited to speak at a local award ceremony, where Max was to be honored for bravery. As the hall filled with people, she stood on stage, with tears glistening in her eyes. Heroes don't always wear uniforms, she said softly, looking down at Max. Sometimes they have fur, 4 paws, and a heart bigger than any of us. The crowd erupted into applause. Max tilted his head curiously, as if wondering what all the fuss was about. But when Sarah knelt to hug him, he wagged his tail as if he understood. Love was his only reward. After the ceremony, life slowly returned to normal. Sometimes at sunset, Sarah would stand on the porch with Emma in her arms, watching Max chase butterflies across the yard. She would whisper, "You gave us a second chance." And in her heart, she knew she owed him everything. But life has a way of testing even the strongest bonds. Bonds. One rainy night, months later, thunder rolled across the sky, and Emma began crying in her crib. Sarah rushed to comfort her, while Max lay quietly near the door, his breathing heavier than usual. The years of age and the scars from the fire had left him weaker. When Sarah came back to check on him, she saw his eyes half closed, his chest rising slowly. Her heart sank. "Max," she whispered, kneeling beside him. His tail moved faintly once, twice. She called the vet in panic, cradling Max's head. The vet arrived quickly, but gave her a look she already understood. "He's old, Sarah," he said softly, "and he's tired, but he's peaceful." Sarah couldn't hold back the sobs as she hugged him tightly. "Oh, please, Max, stay with us," she whispered. But Max looked at her one last time, eyes calm and full of the same love that had driven him through fire. And then, with a slow breath, he was gone. For a moment, the world went still. The rain tapped softly against the window, thunder fading in the distance. Sarah felt like her heart had broken in two. Emma, barely a toddler now, crawled beside Max, touching his paw. "A doggy?" she said in a small voice, confused by the stillness. Sarah pulled her close, tears streaming down. "He's gone to sleep, sweetheart. He's watching over us now." That night, for the first time in years, the house felt empty. The next morning, the whole town came together again. They buried Max beneath a big oak tree in Sarah's yard, the same spot where he loved to nap in the sun. The firefighter who had witnessed the rescue spoke a few words. Max showed us what true courage looks like," he said. He didn't think twice. He just acted out of love. Sarah placed a small collar on the grave, whispering, "You'll always be our hero." The crowd bowed their heads, tears glistening in the rain. As time passed, Sarah would often see Emma sitting by that tree, talking softly to Max's grave. She'd bring her toys, giggle, and say, Look, Max, I can run now." Sometimes a warm breeze would pass through the yard, rustling the leaves as if answering her. Sarah would smile through her tears, believing deep down that Max was still there, watching, guarding, loving. Years later, Emma grew into a young woman. One day, she found an old picture of her as a baby with Max beside her hospital bed. She stared at it for a long time before whispering, "Thank you for saving me." That night, she dreamed of running through fields of gold, where Max waited, young, strong, tail wagging. He ran to her, and she fell to her knees, laughing and crying at once. It felt real, like a promise kept across time. Chapter's time. And so, Max's story lived on, not just in news articles or plaques, but in the hearts of everyone who heard it. It became a tale parents told their children about love that burns brighter than fire itself. About a dog who ran into the flames, not for glory, but because family means everything. And every now and then, when the wind rustled through the oak leaves at dusk, Sarah and Emma would look up and smile, whispering into the quiet, "Good boy, Max. We'll never forget." Years rolled by, but the story of Max never faded. Emma grew up hearing it again and again, how a brave dog ran into fire and saved her life. It became a part of her soul, a story that shaped who she was. While other children dreamed of becoming singers or stars, Emma wanted only one thing, to save lives just like Max had done for her. Every time she faced fear, she remembered the warmth of that unseen protector who had risked everything for her before she could even walk. When she turned 18, Emma joined the local fire department as a volunteer. The first time she put on the heavy uniform, her hands trembled. She stood before the mirror, adjusting the badge that read Emma Collins, and whispered, "For you, Max." The other firefighters smiled at her determination, unaware of the story behind her calm eyes. But when she ran into her first real fire, there was no hesitation, only courage. She swore she could almost feel Max running beside her. One night, a call came in about a small apartment building ablaze on the edge of town. Flames licked through windows as panicked residents screamed from the upper floors. Emma arrived with her team, her heart pounding. She could hear a child crying inside. Without a second thought, she grabbed her gear and ran in through the smoke. It was just like she had imagined all those years ago. The heat, the roar, the chaos, but she wasn't afraid. Somewhere deep within her, she felt that same fearless heartbeat that once belonged to Max. She found the boy hiding beneath a table, coughing, eyes wide with fear. "It's okay," she said softly, kneeling down. "I've got you." Lifting him in her arms, she shielded his face from the smoke and made her way out through the collapsing hallway. The ceiling cracked, sparks rained down, but she pushed through, guided by instinct, by something stronger than fear. When she finally burst through the door into fresh air, the crowd erupted into cheers. The boy's mother screamed with relief as she ran forward, hugging them both. Later, as the firefighters packed up, Emma sat on the back of the truck, covered in The little boy she had saved came up to her, holding a small, soot-stained toy dog in his hand. "You dropped this," he said, but she hadn't. It wasn't hers. She smiled, heart swelling with emotion. "No, sweetheart," she said, voice trembling. She said, voice trembling, "You keep it. It's lucky." As the boy ran back to his mother, Emma looked up at the stars, whispering, "I know that was you, Max." Her bravery made headlines the next day. Reporters wrote about how the firefighter who saved a child just like she was once saved. The town remembered, the same town where Max had lived and died. And at the rebuilt Maple Street house, Sarah stood on the porch, tears in her eyes as she read the story. "He'd be proud of you, Emma," she said softly into the wind. Somewhere, the leaves of the oak tree rustled as if agreeing. Years later, Emma opened an animal rescue foundation called Max's Hope, Max's hope. It became a haven for abandoned dogs, those broken by fear or pain. She believed every animal deserved the same chance Max had given her, the chance to love and be loved. The shelter's logo was a golden retriever's silhouette surrounded by flames, symbolizing courage, born from compassion. Every wall carried photos of rescued animals with their new families, each one a tribute to Max's legacy. Sometimes, late at night, Emma would walk through the shelter alone, the sound of quiet breathing filling the air. She'd stop by a framed photo of Max, his eyes gentle and wise. "You saved me," she'd whisper, "and now I save them for you." She'd touch the glass softly, a tear sliding down her cheek, and in that moment she could almost feel a warm nose nudge her hand, a tail wagging softly beside her leg. As the years went by, Max's hope expanded across the country, rescuing thousands of dogs. His story was taught in schools, told on television, and printed in children's books. Yet for Emma, it was always something much deeper, a reminder that love leaves a mark nothing can erase. And when people asked what inspired her, she'd simply smile and say, "Yay, hero with paws." On the anniversary of the fire each year, Emma and her mother visited the oak tree. They'd bring flowers and sit quietly, listening to the wind. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma placed her hand on the grave and said, "You didn't just save a life, Max. You built one. A single ray of light broke through the clouds, touching the grave as if heaven itself agreed." Sarah smiled, whispering, "A good boy, Max." And in that golden light, it felt like he was home again, watching, protecting, loving forever.